Welcome to our lovely future humans, the 5D collective of those who truly do wellness thanks to your wholeness and your mindfulness. So, with personality patterns, securely attached, non traumatized, mystic, spiritual, mindfully living, loving people, we know a lot about friendship and relationships, which are not just for companionship and comfort, but that they are a mirror to all that we are and all that we are not. Thank you, Sadhguru. And that when we get irritated with each other, that's actually something called we're not the same. And actually, Dharma, let me look for my notes. Dharma people do the prefrontal cortex workout. So it's called differentiation of self. This way I bring to you human, spiritual, and spirituality elements. I'm attachment trauma educated. And as a mentor, content creator, and podcast host, above all, I let you know that I'm self-led since my 3 years of age, and that when it comes to differences, I don't project the anger stuff or the irritation. I talk about it. And that emotionally immature people, they have coping strategies, which is why they're not brilliant. And they're more like Cusco, and that doesn't matter if they tell you about their prophecies, their guruship, their all of it. You're going to know who an enlightened one, spiritual master, and guru is, and that is because you're going to notice that they respect our ancestors, and they respect God as discerning, equanimous love. They respect source, divinity. All of us are it, and this divinity and all of us are it, are not it. The frequency that is of love is one that consistently vibes in a person who knows self-regulation. So you don't only understand what a self-regulating embodiment is, you also understand when you're in the vicinity of a self that is dysregulated, and that they won't, if they're a Cusco, notice it, and that their shadow stuff and whatever it is, their karma, is trying to dissolve. So I'm bringing it in Maria's way, but karma basically is likes and dislikes. Now when they're honing in on it like an adaptive child part, it will be unforgiving, harsh. They will just say you lose people when you're expanding, and a lot more when they're like a Cusco of an in and out group. It's like the flat earthers, we're right, you're wrong. So adaptive child part people, anytime you meet any group that is voicing their dogma, their story, and basically doesn't notice that we are not all the same in a way that is of equanimous, common-centered stance. That's why there's the rumor of wellness being positive vibes only, and what was it, ignoring systemic and cultural trauma in favor of no, positive vibes only is our ventral energy. So unlike those who still need to learn to anchor it in, we have it like the back of our hand, because we have wholeness. The sun's the self, you own it, and your lived self, so you own integrity. And morality is I know what's good and I know what's bad, and I know that unkind people need therapy, and that's as straightforward as it gets. And that if I get irritated again, I'm not going to be a person who forgets that God teaches me consistently how to respect my brothers and sisters who are in human suffering, and that's because they're not a waste of my fucking time. In the meantime, Buddha and I have a thing because I make fun of him, because I'm like, sure, ventral vagal portfolio toning exercises, but we got people spreading rumors about you bringing demons. No, I say that's ignorance, Buddha, you know that too. But I tell him, you sit under a tree, and meditation and mindfulness isn't going to integrate their narrative or their sense of self, because they don't even know that they need to get that done, because they think that because now they're a Zen master, this guy's a Zen master who has laundry. When he cries, he doesn't know how to use his prefrontal cortex. So that's one of the beautiful gifts of being a seer. So when you are a seer, you consistently know that you don't know everything. And when you are understanding that pure consciousness and pure energy, Prakriti, pure energy, Purusha, pure consciousness, is basically a human being who can say, I'm not right or wrong. Any of my cherishable beliefs can be right or wrong, I don't know, falsifiable. I mean, it's not, I don't care. It's, I'm actually a humble human being who knows I don't know everything, with an intelligent mind. So that's the part of where you're not comparing yourself to anybody. Personality, wholeness, and navigating ventral energy. So when people don't know how to do it, it's not for us to say you're good and you're bad, unless you're still a teenager version of yourself, which personally I'm not. And when someone's using coping mechanisms, their suffering is clear, their karma is clear, but they won't know anything of themselves if they don't honor their humanity and take the time to heal themselves and get out of the automatic behaviors that are completely clear. Like Pacha notices Cusco's every backhanded comment and all of that. So perception is the process of how individuals interpret and understand sensory information to make sense of their surroundings. But when you live Dharma, emotional regulation and love, you can deeply be involved with everything but not be identified with it anymore. Thank you, Sadhguru. And that doesn't mean that you don't have sadness for those who you see suffer. Jesus suffered for all of our sins. In fact, it's thanks to him that we don't have to. And then it's thanks to Holy Spirit that you stay open-hearted. And it's thanks to God's discerning equanimous love, at least for your host right now, that I get to continue letting you know. Source is a bonus. Akash bonus. Animamundi a bonus. Divinity, really? I can't wait to see how it plays out, because anytime I'm hearing somebody wanting to say, we're divine, I think, wow, you dressed yourself up today. Who are you dressed up like? What's your name? Oh, do I get to meet your dress up? Because that's what it feels like when I'm noticing you're ignoring that you had a name, your human name, and you're not honoring yourself. And I don't see you overflowing in your humanity. In fact, I also don't see that you want every single human being to have the flourishing of the kingdom of God within them. You know, go to get therapy, to be able to put up with the emotionally immature people. You know, we, the ones who don't need Patritian, can do it. We have the capacity to put up with bullshit, as every one of us can be an asshole. I can't prove intent, can I? So when you are a smart human being, you know what it means to be able to discern. You're also going to be aware of you can't prove what you have behind your intention, which is why perception, involvement, morality, and awareness. And those who suffer life, they will point a finger at a person who's kind and say, you are not real, like Dr. Daniel Fox points out. And then they'll continue to test that person. And then they continue to test, which is where an empowered feminine don't get tested. A person who has self-acceptance and self-love doesn't get tested by emotionally immature, mediocre coping mechanism human beings who, by the way, remind me of every single teenager I ever met. That's why I don't look outside in the world and say, oh, there's some dark forces and evil taking over. Nope. I spot a silverback there, another one there, another... Oh, wait. Hey, Schopenhauer, what was the quote you said again? What was it about the masses? Oh, the large audience. Ah, yes, okay, the 3D, 4D. I was informed that we would be having a split. And I'm not going to let you know what I think of the split. Because once awareness is there, once your desireless is in that sense that there is... sure, get ventral vagal. Don't get ventral vagal. None of my business. Yeah, no karmic bondages. Yes, and so while our planet is in Dharma, and I do love that Jesus showed me the way to forgive all my brothers and sisters, to turn the other cheek, to be blessed, because, you know, at the end of the day, I do believe without seeing. And I know that inside of every one of my brothers and sisters, there is a 3-year-old heart. I honor those 3-year-old hearts, which is one reason I won't be doing any shame, blame, fault, revenge. I don't do any backhanded comments. Although some people will notice when I can get irritated in my butthole, because that's obvious. We all can get irritated. But the part about personality is that we welcome our flaws and imperfections. We do not endorse our bad behavior. So if someone says, hey, your tone, you say, oh, let me recalibrate my tone. And you don't take it personally. And when you do say you're sorry, some people say, well, but if you're not wrong, why would you say it? Because you understand that in front of you, you have a human being who is actually hurt, and because you care about that other human being. But don't you want to teach them manners? Say the adaptive child part people who don't understand what biological rude people are. Deaf. They're not mute, they're just deaf, and they're also in their automatic behaviors. And that's why Bezel van der Kolk points out, you may tell somebody, hey, look, that's not good for you. You're really not doing yourself any favors, but are they going to listen? No, they're not. I have my actual close friend, adoptive child part friend. I've told you about it, my facade friend. This is exactly how things went down with us, is that I spoke words to him in his face. You have an Achilles heel. This is your weakness. I'm telling you what's for your good. My friend didn't do... In fact, what he did was hide from me, lie to me for 7 whole days. For 5 whole years, I didn't speak to him. It's thanks to my facade friend, though, that I don't do the behaving like a moron, Maria. So thanks to him, I'm not a buffoon. And then thanks to God, I continue to remind myself. No, he reminds me what my place is. And Peter Levine reminds me of what a bird with a broken wing does, and all the smart therapists. So when you see people who are consistently supporting their maladaptive patterns of behavior, and their suffering and their coping mechanisms, and then they want to act brilliant and intelligent, you don't do shit about it, because they're not hearing you. And because, as Bezel van der Kolk and more than just him point out, they're not actually consciously with you as their self. And it's even more upsetting, by the way, to meet the 0 8-year-old. So karma is not good or bad, but when you hear about how, one, your body's always healing itself, the empowered feminine is intelligent, which is why spirituality and sciences come together. And as Sadhguru points out, every moment of your life, whatever you do or don't do, karma is dissolving. The very life process is dissolution of karma. The very life process. When you learn from somatic therapists how every single human being's body is headed towards home, and that the only thing in their way is a left brain that came on after, but then you notice how many Cuscos there are out there. I mean, really, that's where, again, Buddha and I have a thing, and I'm like, yeah, well, let's find out how many end up using your ventral vagal portfolio of exercises, mindfulness meditation, to integrate, because the hard work is going to get your child parts reintegrated, and that is not one small feat. I don't know anything about it. I have a body that's safe to be Maria, so I have no idea. But I do know Patrick Tian says that it's about the fetal position, suffering, grieving, a lot more, and then rage, and potential more rage, until maybe, if you're ever ready to forgive your home, maybe. So I know I honor Patrick Tian because he helps all boys and girls who want to heal all of that which was never meant to be a part of them to heal, and more than just him. As for the mystics who dress up, the spiritual bypassers, and they say enlightenment is not real, or that equanimity is not what you're supposed to be, yeah, okay, you just want to have your hissy fit and be in a very unhealthy, distress modulated embodiment, because the fourth step to healing trauma charges is getting bystanders to go punish another group, which is where the ignorance of the in and out group. So mediocrity, ignorance, Diego's family, a bunch of teenagers who are backstabbers, liars, and continue to think their superhero and supervillain stories are real. They're not honoring, in my personal subjective experience, anything except for that which is a story that helps them cope with the reality of life that they've chosen to completely dishonor, because they're not honoring their inner world. They're honoring nothing more than a self-righteous, contemptuous butthole that is then, though, pointing a finger at humanity and saying we're broken and that we need to change, or that we need to be deleted. We don't need to change. The ones who do need to change, the ones who are, they're healing, and they're coming out with being in Dharma and emotional regulation and love. And then they're knowing how to stand down when they get irritated, because any emotionally immature person didn't choose their first 3 years of life. And that's as simple and as straightforward as it gets. And as Stephen Porges will continue to prove his theory quantitatively, he's still looking into it. In fact, everyone that will look in it, but it's not proven yet. We know that, but in the meantime, it's helping people to heal. Trauma is not an event, it is a response. Also, when people get triggered into either mobilization defenses or shutting down, they develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what they're doing. Yes, what the body is doing. And that's where the triggers are physiological states. Pat Ogden tells you how the non-metabolized parts continue to come up and play out until they conclude their action. Terry Real will inform you of how unfinished business works with couples, and that there's potential for personal development, but that's only if we have people who, again, are owning the human part. If they're owning the fact that they want to be enlightening and not love, well, there you got a spiritual bypasser. So you have a certain amount of allotted karma, which he says we refer to as prarabdha. The prarabdha is working itself out. And then he says, but the problem is the production factory is working overtime, which is where your mindset matters. And so right and wrong, good and bad behavior, first of all, you would need to be discerning, equanimous, and loving, and know when you are upset. You don't choose coping mechanisms or unhealthy mechanisms, and inner and outer critic, and drinking, drugging, fucking, any story of Lucifer and demons. Get a hold of yourself, become responsible. And in fact, thanks to his quote on karma yesterday, Sadhguru, karma is about shifting responsibility from heaven to yourself. This is how you become the very maker of your own destiny. Now, when you're doing Dharma, you're honoring your humanity, you're honoring yourself, you're in a integrated brain, and when we're around anybody, if they choose to stay unkind, it's not Lucifer or demons. We got a Cusco in town. And when you're a Pacha, you know how to restate healthy, empowering, and empathic boundaries, by the way. And also, there's moments where you will be able to be deeply involved with everything, but not identify with it. And you'll be able to accept that some people, they will not want to choose Dharma or love, emotional regulation, but that they will choose to have coping mechanisms that they will justify and then they will continue being, and that which is a Cusco, like my facade friend. So it's not good or bad, but everybody does what they will have chosen, makes sense to them. Even though I look forward to Bessel van der Kolk's book to come out. When it comes out, it'll be come to your senses, learning to pay attention to yourself, feel what you feel, and give yourself the things that you need in order to move and find out what those things are. And so someone can tell you anything they want, as long as people don't believe that their first 3 years of life matter and that therapy is important for some. It is what it is. And I already see it in the younger generation, by the way, that they're not all actually honoring their self or healthy self-soothing mechanisms. But since I'm a grown-up, I know that I can try my best to share, as we all will. So personal and spiritual growth come with ventral vagal state, come with integrated brains, come with us being able to self-regulate. And no, everyone has a different journey. So of course, we don't impose anything on anyone, because you can't. And the laws are what are going to keep us safe physically. So as for healthy boundaries, we get to speak them to each other. And that's actually really fun, because when you are self-led, you're not afraid to speak up. And you also know how to use the equanimous ventral vagal loving tone. And to also be aware if someone's pointing out, oh, but you're getting agitated. And so we have functional child, adults, communication skills, our paid content. We're working with anger right now. So we have exercises and reframes and readings and spotlights. Tune on in, subscribe, and share with anybody who you do know does personal and spiritual growth. Have a good one.